Hello, today we're going to find the area of rectilinear figures. In this picture here, we have a rectilinear figure, and notice we have a rectangle here and a square here. If I was to put the two figures together, it forms a rectilinear figure. Now the direction says if each square is 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, find the area of the rectilinear figure. Now as a reminder, area is the amount of space an object takes up. So there are two ways you can do this. In this example here, we can simply count each square and determine the area. So if I was to do that, I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I'm going to write down here that my area is 14 square centimeters. Now, in examples like this, you can count each square. But if you don't want to count each square, I'm going to show you another method. Now, as we first identified, we see a rectangle here and a square here. What I like to do is separate the two shapes. So notice I'm drawing a line separating my two shapes that I have. And I'm going to label this as figure 1, and I'm going to label this as figure 2. Now in this example, my length and width is not labeled, so I do need to count each square unit to find that. So to find the length here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and my width is 1, 2. So now for figure 1, if I was to find the area of figure 1, I'm going to do my length times my width. So I have 5 times 2, which equals 10. And now I'm going to do the same thing to figure 2. So I'm going to look at my square and I see that one side is 2 units and my other side is 2 units as well. So I'm going to do 2 times 2, or side by side, and that gives me 4. But 10 and 4 is not my final answer. What I now need to do is combine figure 1 and 2. So now I'm going to do 10 plus 4 to find the area of this entire rectilinear figure. So now I have 14 square centimeters. And notice that's the same answer I had before when I counted. So you could do it two different ways. You can either count or you can do find the area of each figure. I recommend rewriting all of these problems on a piece of paper and always separating the figures to figure out exactly what rectangles or squares are used to create the rectilinear figure. So now looking at this problem here, notice we don't have the square units drawn out for us, but we do have a great figure that's drawn. So first I recommend you redrawing this into your notebook. Now we're going to separate the figure. Now I see that this rectilinear figure is created by two rectangles. So right here, I'm going to separate it just like this. Now I could do it that way and separate it this way going horizontally, or I can also separate it vertically going this way. Both ways are correct. It is totally up to you which way you want to do. They're both correct. Now, I'm going to go back to this one here, and I'm going to now label this as figure 1, and I'm going to label this as figure 2. Now, I'm going to find these two areas separately and then combine them at the end. So on the side of my paper, I'm going to write out figure 1. That way I know what do I need to do to find the area of figure 1. I'm going to look at my length. My length is 10, and I'm going to look at my width. My width is 5, and this is great because both of this information is given to me. So I'm going to use the values that are given to me. I don't have to go out of my way and find them. 10 times 5 is 50. So I have 50 square centimeters for the area of figure 1. Now I'm going to find the area of figure 2. I look at my length and I see my length is 4 and my width is 3 centimeters. Now notice again, both of these values are given to me. 4 times 3 is 12 square centimeters. But now I have to do one more step. After I find the area of part 1 and then part 2 of my rectilinear figure, I now need to find the total area. So I'm going to take the area of figure 1 and the area of figure 2 and find the sum. Now notice I rewrote this and I need to add them together. So this is giving me an area of 62 square centimeters as my area of this rectilinear figure. Notice again, I broke this into two pieces. I found the area of each individual rectangle and then I put them together to find the total area of this rectilinear figure. Yes, this requires a few steps, but if you rewrite this on scrap paper, it should be very simple. Now, it's very important that you do rewrite this on another piece of paper. Now, this rectilinear figure looks very fun. We have a lot of exciting things going on here. Now, you can break this into 3 rectangles going vertically. This way is totally correct, but you can also do it another way. So another way we can do it is also breaking it into 3 rectangles going this way as well, horizontally. Either way is correct. You can choose whichever way works best for you. But what I'm going to do now is label figure 1, figure 2, and figure 3. So now this time, this rectilinear figure is composed of 3 different rectangles. The previous ones we had only had 2 rectangles. However, we're still following the same steps. Now that I numbered the rectangles I have that create this figure, I'm going to take it one by one to find the individual areas first. So now I'm going to look at figure 1. I'm going to look at this rectangle and I see my length is 3 and my width is 2. So to find my area, I do my length, which is 3, times my width, which is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Now I'm going to do the same thing for figure 2, and I actually notice that they're exactly the same. My length is 3 and my width is 2. So again, I also have 6. Notice I'm rewriting this all on the side of my paper. Now I'm going to look at figure 3. I see that my length is 9, but now my width. I'm noticing that my width here is 6, but the thing is I only want a width from here to here. But 6 meters happens to be this entire length is 6 meters. But I see here that this is 2 meters. So if this width is 2 meters, that means, and I'll do this part in green, if this is 2 meters, that means this piece is also 2 meters. And if we know that this entire side is 6 meters and this little piece is 2 meters, we need to figure out what is this piece here. So if I did 6 minus 2, I'm going to be left with 4 meters. And I know this is correct because if I was to add 4 meters plus 2 meters, it gives me the total side length of 6 meters. So therefore, the width of figure 3 is 4 meters. So now I can find my area. 9 times 4 is 36. So notice I had to do a few steps here to figure out what that width was. It's very important that you look at the problem and see what is given to you and determine, do I need to find the width? Is there another value in this rectilinear figure that could help me find that value? Now I found the area of all 3 rectangles that create this figure. My next step is to add everything together. So I have 36 and I see that I have 6 plus 6, which we know that 6 plus 6 is 12. So I'm going to write 36 plus 12, which now I have 48. I have 48 square meters. Square meters are left. So now my total here is simply 48 square meters. Now I'm going to look at my next problem here. Again, I have a rectilinear figure, but it looks like I'm going back to some of my previous problems. In this situation, I only have two rectangles that I can break this up into. So I can break it horizontally this way, and I have one rectangle here, one rectangle here. I can also break it this way as well. Vertically, breaking it so figure 1 is here, and figure 2 is here. Either way is correct. I'm going to keep it this way, but they are both correct. So now I rewrote this in my notebook, and I see that for figure 1, I have a length of 5 and a width of 3. So I'm going to do 5 times 3, which is 15 square centimeters. Now for figure 2, I look at my length. I have a length of 10, and I have a width. Well, I'm looking here and I see 11, and then here I only see 6. But for my width, I only want from this end to this end, so I want to use 6 centimeters. Now this 11 centimeters up here represents this entire side length here. So if I was to show you that looking here, 11 centimeters represents this entire side length. And I know that that's 11 centimeters because this piece here is 5 centimeters, and this piece here is 6 centimeters. So if I was to do 6 plus 5, that does bring me back to 11. So now I'm going to go back to here, and I have 10 times 6, which is 60. But again, 60 is not my final answer. I need to combine my figure 2 area and my figure 1 area, and I'm finding the total area, which happens to be 75 square centimeters. Don't know why that keeps popping up. So I have 75 square centimeters as my total area of this rectilinear figure. So notice again, this required a few steps. I rewrote this into my notebook. Then I separated my rectilinear figure into individual rectangles. Once I did that, I can simply find my area using the formula length times width. Then, once you find the area of each individual rectangle, you now add all of those values together to find the sum. Now, by doing that, that sum is going to represent the area of this entire rectilinear figure. As always, when you're completing the work today, feel free to refer back to this video at any time that is posted on my YouTube channel.